Welcome again to the SundayGorilla Mens Bible study. I'm Brother Thomas Lee Harris III, and we are in the book of Daniel. We've reached the 8th chapter, and I'm going to jump right into the 8th chapter of Daniel, verse 1. In the 3rd year of the king of Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after the one that appeared to me the first time. I saw in a vision, and it so happened while I was looking that I was in Shushan, the citadel, which is a province of Elam, and I was in the vision that I saw in the vision that I was by the river of Ulai. Verse 3. Then I lifted my eyes and saw there, standing beside the river, was a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, and one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. Verse 4. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward and southward, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver him from his hand. But he did according to his will, and became great. And as I was considering, suddenly a male goat came from the west, across the surface of the whole earth, without touching the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Verse 6. Then came to the ram that had 2 horns, Then he came to the ram which had 2 horns, which I had seen standing beside the river, and ran at him with furious power. Verse 7. And I saw him confronting the ram. He was moved with rage against him, attacked the ram, and broke his 2 horns. There was no power in the ram to withstand him, but he cast him down to the ground and trampled him, and there was no one who could deliver the ram from his hand. Verse 8. Therefore the male goat grew very great, and when he became strong, the large horn was broken, and in place of it 4 notable ones came up toward the 4 winds of heaven. Verse 9. And out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the glorious land. Verse 10. And it came up to the host of heaven, and it came down to the host, and some of the stars to the ground, and trampled them. Verse 11. He even exalted himself as the high prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Because of transgression, an army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifice, and he cast truth down to the ground, and did all this. And he did all this and prospered. Verse 13. Then he heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to that certain one who was speaking, How long will the vision be concerning the daily sacrifices, and the transgressions of desolation, and the giving of both the sanctuary and the hosts be trampled underfoot? Verse 14. And he said to me, For 2,300 days, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed. Then it happened, when Daniel had seen the vision and was seeing the meaning, and suddenly there stood before me of having the appearance of a man. Verse 16. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, who called and said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. Verse 17. So he came near where I stood. Well, I want to highlight that mentions Gabriel, the angel, is going to reveal to Daniel the vision that he was having. Alright? Verse 17. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell on my face. But he said to me, Understand, son of man, that the vision refers to the time of the end. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep with my face to the ground. But he touched me and stood me upright. And verse 19. And he said, Look, I am making known to you what shall happen in the latter time of the indignation, for at the appointed time the end shall be. Verse 20. The ram which you saw having 2 horns They are the kings of Media and Persia. Verse 21. And the male goat is the kingdom of Greece. The large horn is between its eyes is the first king. Verse 22. As for the broken horn and the four that stood up in its place, 4 kingdoms shall rise out of that nation, but not with its power. Verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors have reached their fullness, a king shall arise, having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy fearfully, and shall prosper and thrive. He shall destroy the mighty, and also the holy people. Verse 25. Through this cunning he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule. He shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. He shall even rise against the prince of princes. But he shall even rise against the prince of princes. But he shall be broken without human means. And the vision of the evening and morning which was told is true. Therefore seal up the vision, for it refers to many days in the future. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick for days. Afterwards I arose and went about the king's business. I was astonished by the vision, but no one understood it. Amen. And that concludes the 8th chapter in the book of Daniel. And there's another verse that I wanted to highlight that I had read through. And it's where he makes reference to the desolation. Also in the gospel, in the latter parts of the gospel in Mark, it's around the 14th chapter. In Matthew, it talks about when it's spoken of the desolation, the abominations and the desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, the end time visions. Definitely they're referring to this chapter and this prophecy of the end time, and that's chapter 8. So mark that down. I want to read, there it is, chapter 13, verse 13. Then he heard the Holy One speaking, and another Holy One said to that certain one who was speaking, how long will the vision be concerning the daily sacrifices and transgressions of desolation? Right there. All right. So I just want to mark that, highlight that. It's a good study. And that concludes chapter 8. Amen.